This is Dave LeClaire with MakeUseOf.com. Thank you very much for watching this video, and let's dig into the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Let's talk about what this big behemoth brings to the table, and let's help you make an educated decision about whether or not it is the phone for you. So let's kick things off the only way we know how, with some initial impressions of the phone. Now basically, it's your pretty standard Apple first impression. So you get a nice box. The color of the phone on the box matches the color of the phone that you ordered. In our case, we got the blue one. You can get whatever color you want. Apple has a bunch of colors to choose from. They all look pretty good. I went to a local store and checked them all out, and I was happy with all the colors, but I particularly like the blue, so that's what I ended up getting. It's a very Apple-like experience, minimal box, not a lot of stuff in it. You open it up, you have the phone greeting you right in front. You go down from there, you have your USB charger. You do not have a power brick. You have to purchase one of those separately or use one you already have. However, you probably don't have a Lightning to USB-C power brick. You probably have a bunch of Lightning to regular USB power bricks because that's what came with every other iPhone over the course of history. So if you don't have one of those, you're gonna have to either purchase one, get an adapter, or just use an old charger that you already have lying around, or take advantage of one of the iPhone 12 Pro Max and all the rest of the iPhone 12's coolest features, Magsafe. We'll get to Magsafe in a little bit. So a lot of reports and reviews out there talking about how big the phone feels in your hand. I actually find that it feels quite comfortable. I expected it to feel bigger. I'm coming from an iPhone XR, which is a little on the smaller side when you compare it to the 6.7-inch screen of this giant phone. It doesn't feel as big as I thought it would. Even with my case on it, which is the official Apple clear case, it still feels comfortable. Now granted, I have fairly long fingers. Yes, it is a little difficult to reach the top of the screen, but Apple has this swipe down from the bottom trick. You can use that to get to the top of the screen just like you would with any of the other bigger iPhones. Now, while we're on the subject of that very screen, Apple has a Super Retina XDR display, which is 2,778 by 1,284 pixels, which is a 458 ppi pixel density. That's pretty comparable to a lot of the high-end phones on the market, your other flagships. However, where the iPhone 12 Pro Max is actually lacking is in the refresh rate. While many high-end phones, including most of Samsung's models, are going with a 120 Hz display, Apple elected to stick with a 60 Hz display. Now, scrolling through it, playing games, flipping through your icons, it doesn't feel slow or sluggish, but if you spent a lot of time with one of the 120 Hz phones, you definitely will notice the difference. So another key aspect to the design of the iPhone 12 Pro Max is the materials the phone is actually made out of. It features a ceramic shield front and a textured matte glass back finish. Stainless steel around the outsides. So it feels very nice when you're touching the phone, and it kind of actually hurt me to put a case on it because it just feels so good. The stainless steel, there's this nice texture. Yes, it gets fingerprints on it, but it just feels so good. But at the same time, the phone is $1,100, and I really want to put a case on it because I don't want to break an $1,100 phone. I don't know about you. I'm sure the phone is very durable. In fact, it is IP68 rated and all that good stuff, but I don't trust that. I want a case. I want to make sure I don't break it. I want to minimize the chances of breaking it, but it is going to hurt you to stick a case on this thing. Because the one place that isn't so beautiful is with the old notch. Apple still goes with the notch design for the selfie camera. It's big. It looks not great when you're looking at your screen and you see this black bar along the top of the screen. It's just kind of part of the iPhone design now. We've all gotten used to it. If you are an iPhone user who's used iPhones for an extended period of time, you're probably prepared to deal with Apple's good old notch. Just know it's there, and it's not the most attractive feature of the phone, but the rest of the screen looks pretty nice. Now, it doesn't have your infinity screen like some of the Samsung phones out there, but it does have a fairly small bezel, and it just looks great. I mean, looking at it, it's sharp, it's bright, it's just a beautiful display. So as mentioned, one of the things that really makes this phone cool is Magsafe. It's the biggest innovation that Apple has on the phone, and it's let's be honest, it's not that innovative. It's a magnet in the phone that allows you to use accessories. So you can get the Magsafe charger, which clips right on the back, kind of similar to how it would work with an Apple Watch. You can get Apple's Magsafe little leather wallet, which again, clips right onto the Magsafe thing, stays there. You can put your cards in it. It's a very small wallet. You're not gonna be fitting much in it, but it's pretty neat. So here's a quick rundown of the specs of the phone directly from Apple. This is kind of just your breakdown of like, what are you gonna get in terms of the hardware? So obviously the big thing Apple touted was the A14 Bionic chip, which is the fastest chip Apple has put in an iPhone yet. And I have to say, coming from the XR, the performance boost is extremely noticeable. I mean, this phone is fast. Everything runs beautifully. Opening apps is quick and snappy, closing apps is quick, running games, pretty much anything that I tried to do on the phone, even light video editing, it handles it with a breeze. It is a great chip. There's also 6 gigs of RAM, which is pretty standard for most flagships. You'll see occasionally some phones that go up more than 6, but in general, 6 gigs, as long as everything is optimized well, is more than enough RAM for a high-end smartphone. As mentioned, it does feature a lower refresh rate screen, so you're not gonna get that 120 hertz speed that you may be used to with some other flagship phones like Android devices from Samsung. But Apple makes it work. I have to say, I don't really feel any sluggishness. Now, one of the big things that Apple's really talking about is that 5G just got real. 5G is here. Now the iPhone has 5G. And yes, it does have 5G. It has support for both sub-6 gigahertz and millimeter wave. However, you have to be in an area that has the millimeter wave in order to get that. That's the super fast 5G. That's the 5G of the future that we hear about. But if you're not on one of the street corners in a major city that has access to that, you're gonna get normal 5G. I tested it out with T-Mobile. It is a little bit faster than LTE, about 20% speed increase on a speed test. So it's noticeable, but it's not the kind of thing where you're gonna need to go out and get this phone just for that. If you don't have the millimeter wave technology available where you live, you may find that you just don't need 5G. It just doesn't bring enough to the table to really make it worth getting. We should also note this phone has fast charging up to 20 watts, and through Qi Wireless or Magsafe, you get 15 watts of charging. There's also support for dual SIMs, so you can have 2 different phone numbers in here. So if you want to use this as a work and a personal phone, you have the option to do that. Not a big deal for most people, but it's a nice option to have. Now, the thing that really makes this phone is the camera. This is the reason to buy the Pro Max. Outside of the screen being marginally bigger than the regular Pro, there's also a slightly improved telephoto lens on this camera. And when I say slightly, I do mean slightly. You get 2.5x zoom instead of 2x zoom over the Pro. It's a marginal difference. It does make the back stick out a little bit more, so you will notice that the lens sticks out slightly further. However, if you have a case on it, that won't really be a problem. It's just something to keep in mind. If I were to drop this right now and a rock were to be sticking up, it would directly slam into that lens that's sticking out and probably do some damage. As far as what the lenses are, it's a 12 megapixel triple lens system that Apple has included. There's an ultra wide lens with a 2.4 aperture and 120 field of view. There's a wide lens, which is your standard 1.6 aperture, so you can really get some nice looking depth effects going with that. And there's also the 2.2 aperture telephoto lens. So these are the 3 lenses that Apple included, and I have to say, they look absolutely stunning. The pictures you take look fantastic. Now granted, again, I'm coming from a 10R. This is a big jump. I skipped the 11. I didn't get to experience the 11, which has a camera system that is more similar to this. So to me, from my perspective, this is like night and day. I'm actually going to be using it for some product reviews in the future for video because the stabilization is really, really good. It uses sensor shift stabilization instead of lens shift stabilization, which basically means it keeps the videos a little bit more stable for you as the end user. That's what you need to know. Your videos are stabilized better. If you're doing something like taking shots out of a moving car, the sensor shift creates a smoother movement that won't show as much, so your videos will look a little bit smoother. It is a nice change, and it's one that is quite appreciated if you're gonna be using this for like recording your kids or recording your dogs or something to that effect. There's also a LiDAR scanner, which I personally have almost no use for, but someone out there is probably really stoked that there's a LiDAR scanner on their iPhone. There's also a true depth camera, which is what Apple calls its selfie camera. That one is 12 megapixels and it comes with a 2.2 aperture. So you can actually take some pretty good selfies with some nice depth effects on them. It's pretty solid what you can get out of this selfie camera. Now granted, you're always gonna get better photos out of the back camera. That goes without saying. But if you want to take some selfies with this bad boy, and let's be honest, who doesn't want to take some selfies every now and then? You're going to get really good results. I mean, you can see as we're scrolling through some of these photos here, the selfie camera looks damn good. So as far as availability, you can get this phone in 3 flavors, 3 different sizes, and 4 colors. So you're going to find that you can get the base model, which is 128 gigabytes, and that's $1,099. You can jump it up to 256, and that's going to be $11.99. But if you jump to 512, the price actually goes to $13.99, so it's a little bit bigger jump. For the colors, you can get it in silver, graphite, gold, and Pacific blue. Again, we chose the Pacific blue just because it's a different type of color than what Apple has offered before, but they all look really good. The choice is yours. Either way, you should be able to find it on Apple's website. You should be able to pick up the phone in the color you want, on the carrier you want, or unlocked. The price doesn't change unless you go with one of the carriers that are offering some type of benefit as far as trade-ins. So the question is this bad boy worth $1,100? The answer is maybe. It really depends on your lifestyle. Do you want the biggest phone? If you want the biggest phone, it's a no-brainer. Get the Pro Max. It's the biggest phone Apple's ever made, and it's large. Now, if you're really into photography, the iPhone 12 Pro is very, very similar to the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's a very marginal difference that most people are not going to notice in their day-to-day usage of taking photos or videos. So that's something to consider. You can save yourself $100 and go with the iPhone 12 Pro. But if you want the bigger screen, then just get the bigger one. It's $100 more. I mean, you're talking about $1,000 to $1,100. Granted, we are in times where every penny matters, but $100 for a phone that you, in theory, will use for 2, 3, 4 years, it's definitely something to consider. Personally, for me, this is gonna be my go-to phone now. I will be using this every day. I love it. I gave it a perfect score. There's really no complaints about it. The battery life is incredible. I'd go to bed with it at 20, 25% some days, and that's without being out playing Pokemon Go, playing Hearthstone, taking photos of my dogs, and just even, just testing the phone as I prepare for this review. So I would say I love it. I absolutely recommend it, 100%. You just have to be prepared for the fact that it is pricey. The camera is only slightly better than the 12 Pro, and it's big. It's really big. Like I said, it feels smaller than I thought it was gonna, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a gigantic phone. So if all those factors are not deterrents for you and they're actually positives, you should absolutely get this phone. It is the best iPhone that Apple has made so far. Is it the best phone on the market? It's debatable. It's up there. It may not be the best phone on the market, but it is without question the best iPhone that Apple has ever made, and it is definitely worth getting. This is Dave LeClaire with MakeUseOf.com. Thank you so much for watching this extra long review of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. I will continue to use this phone, and I will continue to love this phone. You should probably do the same. Make sure to go to MakeUseOf.com, check out the written review, written by yours truly, which goes into even more depth about everything this phone can do. And thank you very much for watching. We will see you in the next episode.